Say this is Selah C.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
This is Selah C, and you're listening to Vanguard.
Sweet. Thank you so much for being here today. How did the songs feel? How are you feeling today?
Man, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling blessed. It's honestly just been a privilege to have been a part of such an experience. I've personally never had an experience like this. And so to come out here and just be able to share with you all my music and give you a taste of who Selah C is, it's honestly amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, we're more than happy to have you here. I'm super excited. So we heard projects off of Mind, Body, and Soul.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason why you chose those songs today?
I specifically chose those songs because I feel like they're the best representation of just me as an artist. It's also my newest debut album. So for me, I wanted you all to give a taste of kind of what my projects look like, what they sound like. As you can tell, I'm more on just a more slower vibe. I really am into conscious and introspective music. And so I felt those songs really got to reflect all that I am as an artist.
Yeah, very cool. And would you say that Mind, Body, Soul kind of did that for you too? Because I'd love to talk about that project as well.
Most definitely. Mind, Body, Soul, it was actually a 2-year project in the making. I started making it during COVID. And during that time, there was just a lot going on, of course. And so I had a lot of inspiration just from, between George Floyd and then, of course, the pandemic itself. Music was my outlet. And so I wrote a lot. I recorded a lot. But I was just really hesitant at the time to release my album. I was like, no, it's not ready yet. I was always kind of just like, no. But eventually I had to kind of just put my pride aside and say, you know what, this is for the people. This is a message that can truly inspire and heal somebody. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what I think. It matters now how is this going to influence and affect people's lives.
Yeah. Was there kind of a final domino that led you to doing that? Was there a certain instance, or was it just kind of that mindset of this needs to be heard?
Well, what really prompted me to release Mind, Body, Soul is about, I'll say 6-7 months ago, I really started going out and performing around the Twin Cities. And something I do at the beginning of my show is I do mantras. And so I have everybody just repeat just like, manifestation words and just trying to promote positivity in people's lives. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw the way that was impacting the audience, I knew that the music alone could do so much more influence as well. So I knew it was time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've seen videos of you doing those affirmations. Where did you learn that? Where does that come from?
My affirmation, it came honestly about a year ago when I was going through my healing process from like the divorce of like my mother, and then with COVID happening, there was just a lot that started kind of manifesting up. I started getting anxiety, and I really felt like that was due to just being in, isolation for so long. Yeah. So speaking, I believe that the spoken word and what you speak has, power. And so if I can speak light and speak positivity, then I can bring that back onto my life. And so that's where I began to use those mantras and do those manifestation, sayings.
Yeah, and how important was that to keep in mind throughout this whole kind of 2-year process?
It was definitely really important because, of course, there's times as an artist, it's really easy to doubt yourself. It's so easy to get into your own head. I feel any artist understands, because it's like, of course, you make music for you, but then you're also making music and hoping that it also impacts somebody else. So when you have that kind of mindset, it can sometimes bring in doubt or, like I said, anxiety. So keeping that, that positive outlook on life and just, reminding myself that, like, this is valuable, this is worth sharing, that really kept me grounded and kept me focused on making sure I released my project.
Yeah, for sure. And you're no stranger to music and performing. You've been doing it for a very long time and kind of have a musical family, I would say, too.
Yes.
But is this your first project that you've ever released, and how did that go? Exactly.
This was my first project that I've ever released. I've had singles in the past.
Okay.
So I made my first single at 10 years old. It was called Don't Bully.
Yeah, I remember. I've seen the YouTube video of you on stage. Was it at like maybe an elementary school or something?
I was at Stevenson Elementary in Fritley, over Minneapolis area. And so that was my first time being on stage. It was my first time, my first song I've ever done.
Yeah.
And from there, that really influenced me to wanting to be a performer.
Okay, because the stage presence was there, it felt like. Or were you, even back then, were you nervous, or was it like,
oh,
I can
yeah,
do this?
my parents were like, we're in the living room and they're over here like, we're going through it. I have my comb in my hand and they're like, okay, walk around the living room. This is how you got to be on stage. So they were like definitely molded that performance for sure. I was so nervous. I didn't even want to perform. My dad was like, no, you're going to go to your choir teacher and you're going to try out for this talent show. And I was like, okay, fine. So yeah, that definitely, but I'm really happy that they did, because it really broke the ice for me as a performer, because after that, I don't think I'd ever had anxiety ever again. And I realized that my stage was my safe space. It was that comfort for me. And so being on stage really is, it's definitely a space where I just feel free and just can be authentic. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And how important was it to have kind of those figures, especially like, I know your dad specifically, kind of Doc J, right? Kind of having that musical background. How much did that influence you?
It definitely influenced a lot of who I am today as an artist. He's a producer, and so I would just be in there listening to him create beats, and he would make songs, and I was just like in mesmerization. And at 3 years old, I was actually beginning to rap his lyrics to his songs. So like when people ask like, how long have you been rapping? I'm like, since
Forever.
3.
Yeah.
So it's just always been in like my household. You know, we listen to, you know, a lot of different like old school artists growing up, like, you know, the Isley Brothers, the Gap Band, Shaka Khan, like the list goes on, Nirvana, like so many different forms and elements of music. And so all that, of course, has influenced what you hear today throughout my music and Mind, Body, Soul.
That's super cool to kind of see that and hear that influence. But I'm also just like so curious how this starts with artists where you have the music around you, but what gets you to put out that first song? Like what does that process look like?
So putting out your first single, there's definitely a lot of elements into it. For some, it's like, okay, I'm just going to release this on SoundCloud. For others, it's like, I want to be more intentional with my promotion.
Right.
For me, when it was my first single outside of Don't Believe was called Black in America, which is also on my Mind, Body, Soul album. And for that single, I was definitely really intentional about like the promotional aspect of it. So I didn't just say, oh, I'm just going to release this on SoundCloud. I created a DistroKid, which is a distribution service that goes in, gets all your music on streaming platforms. So I put it on there. And then I have a PRO, which is with, what's it called? Which one am I? Oh, ASCAP. Sorry, ASCAP. So I like will put my music in an ASCAP, and then that basically gives me the rights and make sure I get royalties for for whenever I perform the song or when it's played on like the radio. And then my next steps, even before releasing the single, I created a music video to go with it. Because visuals, of course, like as an artist, a lot of people don't realize are super important when you're trying to promote a song. People love a good visual. So I wanted to make sure that I created a visual, but that was also impactful. So it was more than just a music video. It was a message video. So all that together combined was really the package in releasing that song.
And what made you want to kind of dive deep into, I am Selah C, I am this artist, here's what I have to bring to the table?
My mom.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom has honestly been my biggest fan and supporter. There was times when I really just kind of didn't think I wanted to do music anymore or just even perform. And she really kept me going. She was like, Selah, you need to continue to perform. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. And so I began to really find myself throughout that time. And so I just, through like me writing and just like collaborating with other artists and going out on stage and performing even when I didn't really feel like it, it showed me why I did it in the first place. And so from there, I feel like it's really established who I am now as Selah C.
Yeah. Were there any kind of defining moments while performing? Maybe it was when you weren't feeling like you wanted to perform, or just straight up maybe not the best performance you ever had. Are there any kind of like humbling or defining performances like that for you?
Let's see. I feel like I've been blessed to have so many like different experiences. For me, my most defining moment would probably be well, so over the summertime, I had the opportunity to sing backup with a local artist named Maria Isa. And so we were at the state fairgrounds, and so that's my first time ever being in a place like with that magnitude, performing on stage.
Yeah.
And so being up there in that setting, in that environment, it was kind of like a glimpse into the future. Like, this is like the start of like what can possibly be for me. And like, not me singing backup, but me really like being the main artist on stage. And when I realized how capable that was, because I was on stage already, I said, I can do this as Selah C. I don't have to be the backup artist, but I can really be up there and doing my thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so cool to see. So that's kind of like a defining moment. Would you say that's been your favorite performance so far? Because I know you also just did the DFL block party, and was that also with Maria Issa?
Yeah, that one was with Maria Issa as well. As far as defining moments, I feel like there's so many. It's so hard to keep count, but one that honestly touches the most, it's not even the ones that I've done on a more, I guess, bigger level, you would call it. It's the more intimate ones. And so when I was in middle school, I had performed Don't Bully again for the second time. And that song stuck with my middle school for years. Like, it stuck with me through high school. When everybody knew Selah C, they knew Don't Bully. Like, that was me and Selah C. Don't Bully and Selah C. And that performance right there, it was like, oh my gosh, like, you have impacted, people for years. And so actually at the end of high school, for my senior quote in the yearbook, I put, don't bully, don't be mean. Because it was just like, everybody knew, like, that's who Selah was. So I'd say that performance definitely was the one.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's really cool to be able to think that even from an early age, your music can make an impact on people. And it seems like that's been a continuing factor. How much does that play into your writing process? Or are you just thinking on personal experiences, or are you thinking kind of bigger picture, what could help somebody?
When I go into my writing process, it's definitely based off experiences.
Okay.
And so for me, it's crucial that I'm continuously putting myself in new environments. I'm meeting new people. I'm learning new things, because that's what prompts me to be able to write. I don't necessarily write with the intention of all the time trying to heal. I just kind of manifest through my music, because that's just who I am as a person. But as far as when I do write, it's always like a story about, say I met somebody, like a homeless man on the street, and we had a conversation. And actually this recently just happened. I was over near Global Market, and this man comes in, and I'm asking him just like, what got you into this predicament? How did you end up on the streets? And he's like telling me his story. And a lot of people don't realize that being homeless isn't necessarily like, a choice, or you just don't want to work. And like, that's definitely a misconception. Has a lot of things. It could be, immigration. It can be, you got hit with a health or a disease, and you couldn't afford your medical bills, and now you can't pay your rent because it's, health or housing. So there's all these different factors. And so having that ability to be able to form those relationships and really talk to different people is what does it.
Yeah. And I'm curious how that kind of maybe leads into other art forms, because I know you also have a clothing line, Authentically Me. How does that mindset kind of play into that as well? Or tell me about
definitely. That. So Authentically Me is a mantra clothing line where I place different affirmations on my shirts, including things like, today I choose positivity, unique, the only one of its kind. I'm dedicated, I'm determined, I am driven. And so those, I believe, it's when you wear something, you're not wearing it just to look good. You're wearing it because it means something. When I wear I am hip hop, it's because I feel I am hip hop. And so for me, I wanted to create, a line that when people wore their clothes, they felt empowered by the clothes that they were wearing. So through, of course, my journey of healing and doing my mantras and my affirmations, I decided to place that into my clothing as well.
Yeah, and that's so cool. What is it like now having that clothing line and putting out a project that you put so much time into? It's kind of, I know I've talked to artists about it, it's kind of weird once you put so much time into it and then it's out there and you're like, oh, what was that feeling like kind of right after dropping Mind, Body, Soul this summer?
I'm not gonna lie to you. When I dropped Mind Body Soul, I didn't even listen to it for like a month.
Right,
Like
right.
I
It's
was,
just it's got to be a weird
yeah,
feeling.
it was a weird feeling. I didn't even listen to it. Like I just like, okay, I'm just gonna let
Yeah.
people, listen to it,
Yeah.
and like they can
Step
tell me
back.
if they like it or not. But I actually recently just began to like listen to the
Okay.
entire album front to back, like maybe like a month ago.
Does it sound different?
It does. It sounds different. It sounds like, oh my gosh, like you really completed this work of art.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
time as I released it, there was a lot of adrenaline
Sure.
because it was an intimate project that I
Yeah.
was sharing with the world.
Yeah.
And so it was like there was so much in me that was put through my music. And so I was like, I don't know how to feel right now. So I
Yeah.
kind of just like, okay, I'm just going to take a break. I kind of took a break from music, not a lot, but I just kind of, took a little downtime.
Yeah.
And so now I recently just got back into it and I'm just listening to it and I'm just like, wow, like, for your first project, like, of course,
Yeah.
I will have more and I'll begin to develop more as an artist. But for my first, I feel like it was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What were some of the takeaways like that after taking a break? What were some of those takeaways after listening again?
Continue to be real and authentic in my music.
Yeah.
Continue to work to be a better writer, better lyricist. For me, being a lyrical, MC is super important, especially as a female hip hop artist, because as you know, there isn't a lot of female hip hop artists that are really speaking with content. It's more just on the physical, or they're talking about their body or relationships, things like that. And so for me, it's like I want to create a different image of what it means to be a female MC.
Yeah.
So.
And what goes into that? Is it just that mindset and the consistency and the practice, or what makes kind of the lyricism improve?
Read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I read. I'm always learning new words. Like
Okay.
I'll like if there's a word I don't know, I'm like looking stuff up.
Yeah.
I like I go through like dictionary.com and I'm just looking out all the words and just trying to learn new stuff. I'm in college. I go to Normandale in Bloomington and I take a creative writing course.
Oh, very cool.
And that really keeps me, I guess, going with my writing, because even when I don't feel inspired, that course, of course, forces me to write.
Yeah.
Even in those times, which is so beneficial to me as a musician and an artist, because there's going to be times where I may not want to make a song, but I may need to for an event or something like that. And I have to suck it up and just write.
Yep.
And so it really helps you to figure out, how to tap into that creative mindset and begin to let those words just flow.
Yeah. I would imagine like maybe producers and other artists, like you were saying, collaborations kind of help with that as well.
Definitely. Collaborating, working with other artists. I'd say definitely watching other artists that are my favorite. I really look up to like J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne. Like those are like some of my favorite. A little bit
of studying.
Yes,
too.
Most definitely. So I listen to them, their cadency, how they deliver, how they use their words or their metaphorical expressions. And so all that really does play a part into when I'm writing and when I'm, lyrically doing what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of the music element of it and the songwriting process of it. I'm also curious kind of about the visual element and kind of how that plays a role. And just when you take a song like Black in America, very deep, heavy content, how do you go about choosing visuals for that?
So when it comes to visuals, that's definitely a team effort. Because, of course, I wouldn't say like images and things like that is my strong suit when it comes to being an artist. But I definitely have like ideas that I want to get across. But for me, it's like I kind of think of what's most important. Like if I think of an object, like what is this object going to like resemble, or what meaning could this have? And so I really like the smaller details in visuals. So it's not really always about the big stuff. It might just be the mic stand standing there. It just might be like a little bug, just like walking on the sidewalk. Yeah. But like all those little things like have a bigger meaning and message to them. So I definitely would say like my messaging plays a big part in that.
Yeah. Absolutely. What have kind of the responses been like to maybe music videos and just like the project overall?
People are like, your music video is like, it looks like a freaking
Yeah,
cinematic,
yeah, for sure.
experience. Like
Yeah.
most people are like, how did you get the quality like this?
Yeah.
I will say I've been blessed and fortunate through grants to be able to help
Okay.
pay for a lot of my music
Very cool.
videos. For my Black in America music video, shout out to the NAACP. They got to fund into that music video, and it was a $1,500 video, and so and that's not including, you know, other expenses that come in like props and things like that. So it ended up being close to like 2,500. But it was well worth it. I'd spend it again because, you know, when you believe in something, you'll invest no matter what.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there's an element of like just seeing everything possible through. You got to see it through. Absolutely. So speaking of seeing things through, what does the future hold for Selah C? Is it still kind of ruminating with this project, listening to it maybe a couple more times down the road as well, or what's your mindset looking like right now?
So, currently going forward, when it regards to my music, I'm trying to do some more collaborations.
Okay.
That's something that I shied away from in the
Sure.
past. But I really want to get more creative with the other artists here in the Twin Cities.
Very cool.
Definitely working towards getting my own Midwest tour. I want to do one like Chicago, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then just bring all the best rappers that we have here in the Twin Cities, and we show them that we're doing it. Minnesota's on the map. Don't sleep on us. There's some really good artists that are coming out of here, and so I really believe that one of us is next up. So
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. That's so cool to see. And just like one question as you were saying that, was the collaboration something you kind of shied away from because you maybe needed to find your own sound first, or what was the reason behind that?
Partial was because I was trying to figure out what my sound was. And then also another part of it is a lot of people don't understand the business aspect to music.
Okay.
And it's like it's awesome to be creative, but there is definitely like that business side.
Yeah.
And so being with people that understand that is really important to me. And so when there's a professionalism that's needed, you know, and it's like, and it's not just, you know, me just being a bougie artist. It's just that we're going to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And so, there's some artists that don't understand that quite yet. They're learning that because they're developing artists.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just wanted to focus on how can I build Selah C's brand instead of worrying about how can I teach somebody how to do music business and collaborate with them at the same time. So that's really kind of why I stayed, you know, focusing on Selah C.
Well, that's really cool to kind of learn where you're at and then kind of hopefully have people kind of meet that standard as well and move forward in that way. And then hopefully, like you were saying, do the Midwest tour, like create a spotlight for the amazing artists here. And that'd be super cool to see.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to mention? Anything else on your radar? Any words of wisdom? Anything? The floor is yours.
Look, all I have to say is, look, stay motivated, stay consistent, stay disciplined. Honestly, any dream that you have, you're capable of reaching. I remember as a child, I said, I just would love to be able to, you know, pay my bills and do music. I would just be able to just be on stage. And since then, I've been able to be on stage with, you know, artists like Mint Condition, Sheila E., of course, Maria Issa. And I've had the opportunity to just be in the presence of a lot of people, and I realized that your dreams really aren't as far as you really think they are. So with that being said, this is Selah C. You can check me out on selahc.raps, and stay blessed out here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.